today on the Clifton Suspension Bridge vault tour, which takes us down under the towers that Brunel built. So join us as we go and explore. This is the museum. Suspension Bridge.
Hi. For the bridge tour? Yeah. If you wouldn't mind just holding the fire outside, we'll call you in a
She
couple
set me
of
up.
minutes.
What? Jesus.
Yes.
Rover standard for like years.
So if we run along this way and then just kind of huddle in front of me a bit, so here.
That's Bristol.
Okay, so we start the tour here because this is where one of the most exciting parts of the vault story began. This is where Ray Brown, who you saw on the video, was made his amazing discovery. So if you can see the manhole cover just there, back in 2002 Ray Brown was out here replacing the paving stones, and as he replaced one of them he noticed two wooden sleepers, railway sleepers underneath, and then when he lifted those up he noticed a hole. Now he didn't go down the hole because he knew that there could be anything down there. Spoke to the people at the bridge and everyone here got very excited because for years and years people have been thinking it would make perfect sense for there to be vaults underneath this structure that we're stood on now. So they got very excited about it. They sent somebody down, this guy called John, another hero of the story, because he went down trained in high access with all the safety gear, but he knew that he was going down into a hole that nobody had been into probably since the Victorian times, and they had no idea what was going to be beneath there. So down he went into the hole and he found a series of tunnels, and using the harnesses he came out into a small chamber. He carried on going and he came out into a very big chamber, and that is one of the ones that we're going to go in today. So just to give you a little bit of background, we are stood on what is called an abutment, and if I could just show you on here, when Brunel designed this bridge, people were very nervous about it because they chose to build a bridge here because they had at the time a lot of ships going into the port of Bristol. So they needed another bridge, but they needed it to be high because they had all these high masted ships coming through. So it needed to be at a high point, This was the highest and narrowest point in Bristol, but that presented a bit of a challenge because nobody had ever built a suspension bridge that was this high and this wide before. And Brunel, anyone who knows a bit about Brunel, he was a very determined man, he was a very ambitious man, and he said, if anyone is going to do this, I'm going to do this. He had to get through 2 competitions, which you can learn a bit more about in the visitor centre to get there, but he was appointed chief engineer. But there was a lot of nervousness around the fact that no one had ever built a bridge this high and this wide before. So he said, not being one to let anything get in his way, if you think the gap is too wide, I will make the gap shorter. We will just build out a platform. Now if you want to look across over there, you can see a small platform which our other tower is resting on. But that side of the gorge is very vertical. So it wasn't a great place to extend out. Whereas this side, we've got a nice slope, so he thought, perfect, I can build out a nice right angle platform and I can make the gap smaller. So that is what they did. So they made this abutment, which we are standing on now, so that suddenly they're going over a much smaller gap. The other mystery though is, how did they then, especially in this day and age of paperwork and plans, is how then do people not know that this chambers in this abutment actually existed? Now, what happened in the whole process of building the bridge, they built the abutments, they built the towers, and then they ran out of money. And for 16 years, we had these abutments and these grand towers and no bridge, to the point where it became quite an embarrassment for Bristol, because we'd really shown off about the fact we were going to have this amazing bridge, and then it never happened, and there were just these towers there. Now sadly in that time, although Brunel went on to have lots of other amazing projects which you might know about, he then passed away in 1859 before the bridge had been completed, and at this point people thought, that's it, we're not going to have this bridge. But his friends, engineer friends, said this is such a shame, this was something he'd been so proud of, and it's so sad that it never got completed, so let's do a big money raising effort. They managed to do it, they raised enough money, and in 5 years' time the bridge was completed. But in that 16 years, people had completely given up hope on the bridge, and we think at that point they just destroyed the plans. They destroyed the site office, they decided it was never going to happen. Either the plans were completely destroyed, or they're mouldering away in somebody's attic somewhere. They may exist somewhere, but they were never discovered. So then, between that time and the modern day, nobody knew what lay in this abutment that we're stood on. Lots of people thought it made sense for there to be chambers because, particularly back then, labour was cheap but materials weren't. So to make a structure as big as this and make it completely solid didn't make sense. They thought they would probably have put some hollow chambers in there. They got people from the university, they drilled through the brick and they found nothing. It turns out that's just because Brunel, being the genius engineer he was, had just made sure that this was such a thick structure, the walls were so thick, that whenever they tried from the outside to drill through, they were just met with more masonry. So it wasn't until they actually found an entrance that they realised. So we had nearly 160 years between this being sealed and then them being forgotten about in that time, people crossing the bridge. We have now about 10,000 cars a day crossing this bridge, and up until 2002 nobody knew that they were there, which makes even today not that many people have been down into those vaults. Before we do go down, there's just a couple of things I want to point out. The first one is if you can just have a look at the barriers there where the cars are going to go through, because that's going to be really useful when we're down in the vaults for getting your orientation. The second thing is, have a look at this corner. If you can have a look at the corner of this tower there, and it's a bit tricky because you're quite far away, but is there anything anyone can notice that's different about the corner of the tower on the other side and then the corner of the tower here that we're stood by?
Yeah, that one's slightly going that way, this one's just going straight down.
Good, yeah, so it is a difference on the corners, brilliant. That one, we've got right angled corners, we've just got normal corners here. Here, the corners have been shaved off, so where they would be right angles, the stone has been shaved off or chamfered away. Now that is also going to be useful for you to know. We'll explain a bit more about that once we're down in the vaults and why that is, but if you just take a little look at that now. So before we head on down, has anyone got any questions? We're all happy to go. side. Fantastic. What we're going to do then is we're going to walk along here. We're going to go back to the coffee cart, and there's what I call a secret door. It's a bright red door. It's not that secret, but we are going to go through the bright red door, and then we're going to walk down a path, and that's the point where we'll stop, and then we'll have a little bit more of a chat. There's one more interesting thing to show you, and then we'll head down the ladder and into the halls.
That's where we're going.
Very secure door.
Looks like an insignificant pile of rocks covered in ivy, but this was once a very important part of the bridge, because when they started building the bridge, they obviously had the issue that there was no bridge there. They were building the bridge. It was a bit of a pain. They had people working on that side of the bridge, and they had people working on this side of the bridge, and to get from one side to the other, down, go back around that way, it was a bit of a pain. So Brunel, being the problem solver that he was, thought, okay, we're just going to make a bit of a temporary crossing. So he got a very large iron pole. He dropped it from one side of the gorge. They dropped it down using ropes. They lowered it down into the gorge, and then using ropes, they lowered it up to the side. So they had an iron bar going from one side to the other. They then attached what was a bit like an air balloon basket to this bar. So you can see pictures about this in the visitor centre. But this was called a suspended traveller. So people could go, people and tools. Sometimes it was just that they needed a tool on the outside, so they would put tools in it and send it across. Really nice and easy. Unfortunately, when they put it down, they dropped it a little bit more violently than they meant to, and there was a bit of a kink in it, which then meant this wasn't a very smooth or reliable form of transport. So there are times when the basket would get stuck, which was particularly unfortunate for the members of the public who were also invited to use this basket, because a big issue for the bridge, they were always running out of money. So one way for them to earn a bit of money was to sell this as a bit of a tourist attraction. So they said, you can travel with this suspended traveller and see these amazing views of the gorge for 5 shillings, which is about £35 in our money today. There were a couple who were getting married over the Avon Gorge Hotel, and they thought, what a fabulous way to celebrate our wedding day, let's go in this suspended traveller. They went in there, they enjoyed the beautiful views, they enjoyed the beautiful views for 3.5 hours, as that's the amount of time they got stuck there. So they had quite a memorable wedding day thanks to the suspended traveller, but it was a popular thing to do. I always have like some people's faces, because there's always the people who were in my camp who would definitely have waited even for 16 years for the bridge to be built rather than do that, and the people who would be like, yeah, absolutely, I want to get across in that basket. But that is a way that they had on the way. What we're going to do now is we're going to head down and sort of make both the individual go first. I will go down the ladder, and then people will wait at the top. Oh, people will go down the ladder then. it's called a ladder, but it's basically steps. It's nice and simple. You just need to hold on to the railings and just go down. Great.
Yeah, that's basically what's happening. The barn basket consists of Samuel Penn's 1836. After an effigy forced him at Ekin on that courtyard, he was suspended. Are you taking pictures? Someone made it political on Instagram.
Oh, it's like a little bar, it goes all the way across. Going down before me or last? So we've got still high up. Wow.
We've come through the door, which took how many days? 9! Yes! If you can just pull the door a little bit shut, please, Jane. You can see why it took 9 days. It's so thick, and they used a massive drill to make it's called core drilling. And they go all the way around the outside, all the way around, and then they have a massive bit of stone left in the middle. Which, guess what? They've taken some. So, how do we get to the second chamber? This is chamber number 4. Do we get that ladder down? Do we climb up there? Do we go through into that chamber? Oh, that might be easy, right? Okay. If we were to go up there and climb up that little ladder there, we would go to chamber number 3. Chamber number 3 is the same length that way, but it's I'll shine it up to that hole that's on the ceiling out there that Seb and Daisy have just pointed out. What's your name again? Seb.
Yeah.
You are? Okay, well, doesn't matter, it's definitely here. But anyway, if you were to go up there, Seb, through that hole and put your head out of the top, you would find yourself at the valley where it goes up and down and you can pound in. So you can stand there and make everybody's credit cards. Right? We think that hole, because we have no plans, we think that was part of the design to get everything out, all the scaffolding, everything out of here, finally, including the very last person that was pushing everything out. But we also think when they were building the tower on the top, they had a load of extra rubble that they needed to get rid of. And rather than take it down here on the boat, send it off to somewhere, we think they dropped it all down, which is your question. What is all this rubble doing at the bottom? We think it was used as a Victorian dumping chute. And they put everything they did well, because the compound of stone, the stone down here is the same stone as what we built. Yeah.
So, that one there is kind of sheep.
Which one? That funny one. It's got funny knobbles on it, hasn't it? What do we think these knobbles are called? Stalagmites. Stalagmites, which get dripped on, and eventually after 160 years it grows into a knoll. As opposed to these things which are called stalactites, and they are formed because of the rain. The rain, we've had a lot of it this year, haven't we? It drops through the road and the stones are all held together with a lime mortar. So the water drips through the lime mortar, and it takes a long time, drip through, and it eventually seeps through, and it creates a little stalactite. And then each time another drop goes down the stalactite, it puts a little ring around it, and eventually it gets longer and longer. Very, very thin. They are called straw stalactites because they're so thin and so they are hollow inside. Seb, what's your question?
Are those supposed to be chambers that the windows in?
Where that little window is, that goes to chamber number 3. This is chamber number 4, but what we're going to do next is we're going to go to chamber number 5, which is the biggest one. Oh, that's a really good question. If you can see all these little holes that look like windows around, those are for putting when they were putting scaffolding in, they would have beams going across from one side to the other side, creating a kind of false roof. Okay? And then they created a false work to make the arch at the top. But that was used as a false, actually as a false floor, so that they could work above it. The rusty looking bits that look like they don't work, those bits. What our engineers came down and they looked at those and they thought, oh. So they were part of Brunel's design to keep the structure taut and strong together, and they're part of a tie bar system. And I'll explain more when we go to chamber number 5 and I'll show you some pictures if that's okay. Victorian cable ties. Victorian cable ties. Lovely. But just so that you know, they are not integral to the holding it together. It's a strong enough structure. So they look a bit rusty and a little bit rotten, but it's okay. Yeah.
What about the entrance to the car park? Is it going to the car?
What about it?
Yeah, one of those two.
Oh, where did the man first go down?
That just looks like the start to a horror movie. Oh, wow. The whole into lovely.
So, right. Like a cathedral, isn't it?
When they first came in here, the floor underneath us, we've obviously put in a couple of years ago, it was more like that. You can see many examples of some of the stalagmite stories, actually all at the back there, which is, yeah, it's And in case you're wondering what these funny little splotches are under your feet, I like to say they're called baby stalagmites. So we closed the chamber up between October and April, and those who came back here at that time. And then when we came back in April, here we had lots of more splotches. They're dropping down, and if you were not to stand on them for 160 years, they might look like those ones over there. Now, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. The first question is, put your hands behind your back. Where do you think the river is?
I think it's a bit over there.
Yeah, over there. Going in which direction?
We know.
Probably. What do you think? Oh my goodness, we've never had something. Where do you think?
Left to right over there.
Okay, to clarify, if we were to put a lovely big window at the back, we would be looking across to Clifton Village. The road is going that way. Above us, the river is going that way. Beneath us. Does that make sense? I'm going to do a little bit more orientation. If you want to have a little look around here, and you'll see again where we are. We walk back to the coffee cart, down the round the ladder, through the door that we took to cut through into that chamber, and number 4. Down here, through the little door, through the tunnel around the head. This is massive chamber number 5. Some of you have noticed there is another chamber. Vault 10. So if you count this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, there's a remaining 5 chambers exactly like this formation. I'll show you that picture there. You can kind of see what is underneath the red stone coverage. And so, somebody asked me, well, where did they first come down? Don't forget where we were before. We were along here, standing above that hole there. This is an outline of the tower. If you look at the tower,
Spider.
it's got a corner cut off as well, isn't it? So we came down, we went down, you notice these 2 windows in these 2 tunnels. Have you had a good look through? If we were to send you through, what would you do when you got at the end of that tunnel? Or that tunnel? You got to the end of that tunnel, what are you going to get to? A left or right? Okay, Mum, are we going left or are we going right? We're going to go right. We will find ourselves What we'll find, if you did go through there, not only does it go left, not only does it go right, it also goes up, but it also goes down. Unless you've got arms and lots of equipment, so that you didn't hurt yourself. Here, there's massive one here.
Well, climb in. There's one over there.
It's not vaults, it's just like working space. Now, I know very well the acoustics in here. My voice is echoing, not just in this chamber, it's echoing through.
Stalactite.
We're going to do a little experiment. What we've got here, Jenny and I put to work. Because I understand that somebody's birthday today, so whilst she's going over the video, all the it may not be it's birthday. Yes. So whilst Jenny is there, we're going to talk about her singing birthday to Jenny is going to really massive. You're going to pop. We're going to see how long the echo goes around the room. In order for this to work, you have to be 5 seconds beforehand. And you have to be really quiet for about 10 seconds afterwards. So when she pops it, if you go like this, it's the illusion of the sound echoing around. So, really quiet before, really quiet afterwards. Come on up to the thing. We heard the traffic, it's a long way out, and it's got very thick walls and spaces in it. So, we've tested our ears, we've tested our sight. In order to test our sight, and in the absence of a torch, what we're going to do is face that way as if we're looking to Clifton. You're going to work out now why nothing could grow in here for 160 odd years. Jenny is going to switch the lights off. So you're not going to see anything on your video camera. In fact, could you put your video camera underneath your jacket? Sit down. Somebody got a blue light on there. So it's pretty dark. So that's why.
They could see the
Sandwiches. Here we go. I've got some examples here of some stalactites that have fallen down already. Some are prepared to go.
One there.
See how
Stalactite.
see they're long, they're thin, they're a little bit hollow in the middle as well. You don't want that landing on your head, which is why we give you Yes, a bit like chalk. It's calcium carbonate. It's like a lime. It's like what you get inside your kettle when it furs up. It will shatters when it comes down. It's a bit of rubbish or it's a bit of balloon. Which is that? And if you've got any questions, do feel free to ask. Or if you want me to take a group photo or a team photo, family photo, family photo, birthday photo, yes please. Evidence that you came and you did something nice for you. Take the evidence to make you can see the other one, can you? Many tunnels through them. You can see it. Yeah. If you want to hand in your maps. Right. Come over here. If you just come into the later, team photo of the birthday family. What birthday is it?
20.
Wow, what are we going to do for 21st? It's a family photo with Can we take a photo of the two of you?
That's alright, I'll get it on there.
You want to take a picture?
How far down's that floor go behind there then?
Just a bit further.
Just a
This
bit,
is
is it?
on a bit of a
Yeah.
slope, so it goes a little bit further down. And then, of course, there's the chamber that's underneath it as well.
Are you ever going to clear this out, the rubble, or not?
I don't think so. I think they're going to keep it as an example of a Victorian rubbish dump.
But they're going to...
If you go to the bridge on the other side and you look back, you'll see that the red brick goes down, but you'll see it's steeper. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
probably longer on that side than it is on this side.
What about the other vaults? You have plans on getting into this?
Oh, we're not allowed.
No?
You have to go to university and be an engineer or be a fireman.
But you're going to open them up, or...?
No.
Check it, 16. Keep going, no.
11, 12, 13,
That's what he drilled through.
Right, when you're ready.
The sun's still shining. Well, that was it, folks. Underneath a suspension bridge. To ice cream. Yeah. Well, that concludes our explore the vaults under the suspension bridge. Come and have a look. It's not that expensive. It's worth looking at. Thanks for watching. So that's Bristol over there. And if you look, where are we? Down there, That's the Clifton Rocks Railway, and it goes in a tunnel up that hill to those arches over there. It's called the Clifton Rocks Railway.
Papa, I made a booking.
Thank you. Harbour noise. That's where we've been, down under there. That there is the Clifton Observatory. It's actually a tunnel that goes down and out onto a balcony on the edge of the cliff. Oh, you can't get on that side of the bridge, a bit annoying. I think that was a walking zombie, wasn't it? So this is at the Clifton side of the bridge. So that is where we have just been. That little red brick area inside there is where we've just been. And this is the Bristol Rock Slide, or slider if you're from Bristol. Can you see the newt on the floor? Is it a newt or lizard? Lizard, isn't it? A bloody newt.